Direct deals, better wheels. Shippers and carriers shake up the logistics. Well, we did a lot of research over the past, let's say, 6 months. And what we realized, and as you can see, the numbers, obviously, they're not lying. Let me pull this real quick so that you can see. Let me pull myself as well. There you go. So, I had a conversation with one of my friends who's happened to be an independent freight dispatcher, and he works overseas. But then we are talking, online, and we had a conversation about getting shippers, on board. And now it's like shippers contracting with carriers, and carriers, more and more what we see, like carriers working with direct shippers. I think that the trick here is what type of shippers you're talking about and what type of carriers you're talking about. Well, and this video is specifically for carriers under 20 trucks and independent freight dispatchers who are dispatching under 20 trucks. This is specifically for you. So, like, what's the goal with this? Well, by the end of this video, guys, how you look at world of dispatching and how you look at the idea of working directly with shippers. If you're a carrier, and if you're an independent freight dispatcher, wanted to help your carrier get shippers, and I know you have questions like, well, what if I get shippers on board, then carriers won't work with me? But I have a good news for you. So it's not about that. It's totally the opposite. So, and he had a conversation, and we had a conversation about this load board. Well, we said, listen, it's really bad market out there, and he has carriers that I think he has about 6 trucks and about 2 carriers. And he said, listen, I use load boards, and it's really every single day when I wake up, I don't want to go to work because the load that I'm looking for, man, the market is crashed. I can't find good loads. But then second question that I had for him, and I said, listen, when you said good loads, what do you mean by that? So good load for one carrier would be really bad. For another one, it will be an awesome load board. But there is a difference. Well, how that works, what I say is that, listen, one carrier, he has, let's say, 5 trucks, and he paid off his trucks. Now his cost per mile, it's low compared to this guy who has a cost per mile, let's say $2 per mile. I'm throwing some numbers out there. He said, well, it really depends. But then I talked about the research that we did in the last couple of months, and I said, listen, what we realized is that more and more shippers wanted to work directly with carriers, eliminating the brokers, which is middlemen, and the carriers wanted to work with shippers. Then we did research, and we realized that, hey, listen, not the nationwide type of shippers that you guys are looking for. And again, that's the hint, right? And I said, if you're less than 20 trucks, and if you're an independent freight dispatcher, dispatching loads for a carrier that he has less than 20 trucks, it could be 2 carriers, 4 carriers, it doesn't matter. But what I'm talking about, the number of equipment that the carrier has. So less than 20 trucks. So then what's the game? The game is now more and more, and you can do your own research, Google it, whatever you want to do, but then you will realize, you will come to conclusion that, hey, listen, oh yes, shippers now don't want to work with the brokers. But what type of shippers? Local shippers, like small shippers. They don't want to work with brokers. They want to work directly. So I do have, something to share with you. These shippers want to work with local carriers. That means local shippers wanted to work with local carriers, and carriers also wanted to work with local shippers. And I want to share with you how I find shippers, and I want to show you exactly how I do. And then I want to show you, let's say, 3 different ways. One is the tool that I have. Another one is a software, obviously. And then the other one is a technique. So there's 3 ways that I would love to share with you. And if you guys have questions about that, and you can definitely ask me. There is a tool called AdSense TMS. And one of the employee, that Tim, but I can't pronounce his last name, on his LinkedIn, he posted, but I'm not going to read, but the only thing that I really wanted to read his point of view. It's a long article, but he says, and I quote, he says, in a world that is often pushing bigger is better, shippers clearly like to give their freight to people they get to listen, to get to meet, know, trust, and live near. Think about the local shippers looking for local carriers. So if you are a carrier, let's say you are in Georgia. So the first thing what you want to start is obviously looking for local shippers. Now, then the conversation obviously it's going and this guy says, Kamal, what if we get a shipper? So you're just pushing this idea, eliminating the broker carriers, working with direct shippers. But how about independent freight dispatchers? So if I get a carrier on board, meaning help him get a carrier, and by the way, in the United States, independent freight dispatchers, they cannot. It's illegal to go and talk to a shipper saying that, hey, I'm an independent freight dispatcher and I want to connect you as a shipper to my carriers. Well, you cannot do that. Why? Well, because it's a broker's job, right? So if you wanted to do that, you must have a broker's license and obviously broker's MC number in order to do that. So if you don't have those, you don't have the permission to go directly to a shipper. I many times I repeatedly say this, but then there will be a one person that will comment and say, "Hey, listen, you are teaching the wrong things. It's illegal to like ship. I mean, independent freight dispatchers and go to talk to shippers directly." But yes, this is what I'm saying. Independent freight dispatchers, they cannot go and talk to shippers. That's illegal. And I have more than 5-6 videos talking about this. It's illegal. There are a lot of rules passed, the laws passed. You cannot do that, basically. That's it. It's period. But then how that works, so if I wanted to help my carrier to get a shipper on board, well, this is how it works. So if you're an independent freight dispatcher, so if you're a carrier, you can directly go and talk to shippers and introduce yourself. Obviously, this is the easiest way and simplest way to explain this, but this is how it works. You just go in, obviously, locally. This is what I'm saying. And you say, hey, listen, I'm a local carrier looking for local shippers. That's the name of the game. That's how the conversation starts. And from there, obviously, you meet with the owner or the president or whatever, the guy who runs the business. And then you start talking and saying, hey, you're a business to business. You're a businessman. He's a businessman. And you talk and have a coffee and have the conversation saying, hey, listen, well, I'm like 50 miles away. I'm 20 miles away. I'm 10 miles away. I have this trucking company. I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trucks. And I want to help my local shippers. This is how it goes. Now, this is the carrier, obviously, going and talking to shippers directly. And then they have the process saying, okay, this is the agreement that we have. These are the rates. These are this is the freight or loads we have, and going to this certain area. Maybe they're local. Maybe they located in Macon, Georgia, but then they deliver to Atlanta, to Roswell, let's say like different counties, Forsyth County, Fulton County, whatever. So meaning they are in just confined in one state. A lot of money to be made, by the way. Now, independent freight dispatcher thinking, okay, so if I can help this carrier get a shipper on board, now this carrier doesn't need my help anymore. But now let's shift this mindset a little bit. Let's play with it. Well, think about there is an owner operator, the guy he owns the truck and the trailer, and let's say the easiest way for him to find a load is a spot market rate. Spot market rate basically looking for loads using load boards. Very easy. How that is? Well, it's very simple. Go ahead and apply for, let's say, get the subscription, load subscription, and that's it. You have an MC number. I'm speaking like talking to a carrier, right? So now the carrier wants to use the load board. So he contacts the DAT and gets a subscription. He has DOT, the MC number and everything, and insurance and everything is ready. Simple as that. Now he has a subscription. He goes there. Okay, I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia. He put to Atlanta, Georgia, goes to Houston, Texas, whatever. Boom. One click of a button, the loads pops up. Yes, okay. Now he really needs to know, let's say, a little bit about how to use a load board, how it works, how it functions, and obviously the communication skills, talking to brokers, whatever. But then, even then, It's very easy to do. It's very easy to operate one-man show. Even then, he's looking for a dispatcher. Why? Because if he's an like one-man show, he's driving, and it's not easy to find loads. It's not easy to manage his business, and he needs somebody to help him to manage the business. Now think about now it's totally different story. Getting shippers on board is hard. It's very hard to get a shipper on board, right? Especially if you're just one man show, you have one truck or two trucks. Then if he gets the carrier, or if you help them, if you're an independent freight dispatcher watching right now, and if you think like, okay, if I get the carrier on board, now he's eliminating me. He's just like loads. This is what's happening in freight dispatchers, specifically independent freight dispatchers. This is what's happening in their minds. Is like, if I connect with freight shipper, I mean the shipper and the carrier, shippers just like, it's very easy process. Shipper will send loads to him. It's just he needs to just park his trucks, and then shipper will load them up, and then he will just go and deliver, and then he will come back, load them, and then again, and that's the process. And you think this way, you're totally wrong, and it's not. It's very, very hard to work with a shipper. Although think about, if you compare, like, look at these numbers. Let me make it bigger so you can see it. So think about these numbers. National spot market rate is $1.93, right? And think about now the national contract rate is almost $3. Like, if they pay more, and obviously they need more, meaning more help. Now, it's not easy to get, shippers on board. That's the one thing. And then one of the reasons, obviously, why it's hard to get a shipper on board is because they need two things. One is the carrier must be reliable. That's number one thing. That's based on our research, right? This number one is reliable. The reliability is everything. And then obviously the predictability. So it has to be predictable. So then the carrier that you're connecting with the shipper, this carrier must be reliable, that shippers must rely, or this particular shipper must rely on this carrier, and it has to be a predictable. That means if they have loads, so your carrier will be there in picking up those loads. And then in between, there is a huge process, right? So I really wanted to share this. When I used to have my trucking company, meaning I was a carrier. I had a company name called Prime Express out of Atlanta, Georgia. I was in the flatbed market, and I was working obviously with brokers and shippers. And right across the road, I had one of my friends. He has about back then he had about 25 trucks, reefer trucks. Obviously, bobtails, about 20 trucks, and then he had about 40 trailers. And there is a reason. We'll get back to this. And he got one shipper out of North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. I remember that he was mentioning that he was so happy that he got a shipper on board. Now he's just buying trucks like right and left, used, brand new, like adding more trucks, more trailers. And one time, I know this because he invited me to working with him, and he said, well, I really have you to work with me, but it's not saying that work for me. And then I was building my business back then, and I just politely refused to work with him because I was building my business. But then I saw his operation. This guy now has about 70 trucks, meaning bobtails, and then more than 100 trailers, reefer trailers, working for this one shipper. And his operation, he got back then about 16 freight dispatchers working in-house for this guy. Why am I saying this? Well, I'm not talking about the independent freight dispatchers, a couple of them that works from overseas. But think about the reason why I say this is because when independent freight dispatchers thinking about this, there is a challenge. The challenge is, if you're thinking that independent freight dispatchers, they find loads, booking loads, and dispatching loads, and that's it. So if you think that way, you're not going to survive in this business. It will be really hard for you. Dispatchers is think about mostly doing the administrative work. More importantly, I want you to think that this is the company that you're running is management slash consulting business. So if you're offering your services, you're not limiting to just finding loads, booking loads, and dispatching loads. Why? Because these three things is related to load boards. What am I saying? Well, finding loads using load boards and how you're going to find loads, the number one thing that comes up to mind is load boards. So then what you do as an independent freight dispatcher, you just log in and start searching for or looking for loads. Then second, the booking process. Booking process is when you find a load, particular load that you're interested in picking up, and then you talking to a broker. Now you have the conversation, you lock the deal, and like you got the rate confirmation. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please, we'll go there. The rate confirmation is basically an agreement between a broker and a carrier saying, hey, we agreed on this load so that you can move safely from point A, point B. That's the document is very important in trucking. It's a rate confirmation. So it's basically confirming the rate. Now, then that's the booking process. Now the dispatching this is actually when you're talking to a carrier saying, hey, or the driver saying, hey, I got this load, and you give them the information, and now you're delivering, right? So you helping your driver go pick up this load and helping him navigating like all those things, and then he delivers. That's it, right? So now the payment process starts working with factoring companies. And if you think you're just doing that, well, trust me, you will make some money, but then it will be really hard for you to just compete with other independent freight dispatchers, right? So then when it comes to, let's talk about this. I think this is very important. And we had this conversation with one of my friends. Think about if you're an independent freight dispatcher, you need to know not only one way of finding loads. And by the way, I will be showing you the 3 ways how to get shippers, meaning find shippers. And it's very easy. 2 ways using tools. 1 is basically a tactic that I will just show you, and that it's very easy to do. Now, if you can do that, then you can definitely hire somebody, and I will show you where you can find those people, and then you can just contact them, and then they will do the work for you. It's very cheap. So you will just give a couple hundreds, and then they will do everything for you. Now, and then by the end, obviously, I have a special invitation, and just be here, and then because you will love it. Now, if you're an independent freight dispatcher, coming back to the point, you're not thinking, and if you're a carrier, obviously you're dispatching, and if you're a carrier, you're working with load boards, you have you have dispatchers or a dispatcher, or maybe you're dispatching yourself, maybe you have your own trucks. Back then, when I had 4 trucks, and I was in the flatbed market, what I was doing is I was dispatching my own trucks. But then when I realized that, hey, I want to do like not dispatching my own trucks, but dispatch other people's trucks and get rid of my trucking business because of the liability. And then why don't I can quickly scale, because scaling trucking business is very hard, but scaling the dispatching business is very easy because people already bought their trucks and they need my services. That was the idea behind. And then this is like I quickly grew, let's say up to 25 owner operators. And then obviously I needed help, independent freight dispatchers and in-house dispatchers. Now, if you are a carrier, if you're a dispatcher, just think about this. If you're limiting yourself just one way of moving your trucks, and I include independent freight dispatchers because you're moving your carrier's trucks. Think about like you are a carrier because you're working with a carrier. Although you're helping this carrier with the independent freight dispatching services, but then you become a carrier. Why? Because of the agreement you have with the carrier. What is it? Can somebody mention? I need a little bit of an engagement so I can get a little bit of energy from you guys. The dispatcher carrier agreement, right? So now when you have that agreement, what you do is like you legally binding your company, not yourself, your company with the carrier. So then your carrier gives you the limited power of attorney. What is it? Well, I know it's fancy term to say limited power of attorney is basically your carrier gives you the limited, let's say, power to use his business, but not the full power of like you're not owning the business. It's basically partially giving the rights on his behalf, contacting brokers, signing the rate confirmations and dispatching loads on his behalf. That's what it is. It's just a piece of document, very important document. And if you're an independent freight dispatcher, if you didn't know this, please make sure that it's very important to have in your portfolio the we have for our students the what is it, the power of attorney, the limited power of attorney. So then what you do, you contact with, obviously, with the shipper. So coming back, you're not thinking just one way of finding loads for this carrier. You're obviously thinking multiple ways, but there's a two biggest ways to get loads for your carriers. One of them is obviously contracting this carrier with a shipper. Yes, it's a lot of people told you that it's very hard. Well, yes, but then it depends what's the market. Like if you are a, let's say, car hauler, is very different than drive-in owners. If you are a box truck owner, it's very different than flatbed. So you must have the market first, because think about, I share there's a 4 document that I share with my students, that there is a direct shippers list, what we call, and we have hundreds of shippers just in the Georgia, right? And they're specifically, it's specifically for the flatbed owners. It's not for drive-in. It's not for reefer. Right? Think about that. So you must have first the market that you're in, then you go after the shipper. So when you go after the shipper, it's not the biggest shipper out there that sends his loads nationally all over the country. No. So if you have a carrier, he owns about 1 truck, 2 trucks, maybe 5 trucks, and then you're not going to a big guy, but you're going to local shippers that they send, let's say, plywood, lumber. Those are like distribution centers that they just ship, let's say, from one state to maybe another state, like neighboring states, or even more. So you will be more profitable if you find a shipper for your carrier. If your carrier, let's say, located in Atlanta, Georgia, find him a local shipper. It's very easy to get those on board. Remember, I shared the article, the point of the ASN, the what was his name? I think his name is Tim. So he said it's very important for shippers, for local shippers, to, what he said is to trust what it was, meet with the carrier directly, meaning personally. Wanted to know, let's say shipper says, like, I wanted to know you, like, personally. And then second, he says, I want to know you better. That's the second. And then obviously trust plays like really, it's a huge role. And then obviously live near. So if I live in Atlanta, Georgia, I have a shipper in Macon. Well, we are in one state, we have a lot of commonalities in between. So it's very easy for me to contract with the shipper. So if you are independent freight dispatcher working overseas and you're thinking like, well, that's good for a carrier, but then I am overseas. For those people who are like overseas, think about if you're working with the shipper. Remember, I said, I mean, you work with the carrier that wants to work with the direct shipper. Think about this. Remember, I said the dispatcher carrier agreement and the limited power of attorney, that means you're becoming a carrier. Basically, you are an employee working, although you're a business owner, but then think about that you are an employee for this particular carrier. That means you are a carrier. You contacting on the carrier's behalf. When you're contacting, let's say if I work with you and I have a company name called Prime Express and I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm a carrier, and you could be anywhere in the States, and you say, hey, like, we contracted, and now you're looking for carriers on my behalf. You contacting these shippers, mentioning not your company, but mentioning my company, saying, I'm calling on behalf of Prime Express. So then, obviously, you do your marketing and get, well, the marketing itself is totally, like, we need to have another call that we can just go, I don't know, a couple hours to do like marketing, talking about how you get the the shippers on board. Well, today we'll be talking about how you can find those people. And also, as I said, I have the special invitation. So Asrar, let me see. He says, hello, Kamal. Hello to Asrar. What's up, man? So let's go and now talk about this. Before I go there, let me share this with you real quick. These independent freight dispatchers thinking that, hey, listen, if I get the shipper on board and he's not going to work with me, guys, it's totally the opposite, because now he's busier than ever. Now he needs not only you, he needs multiple independent freight dispatchers or in-house truck dispatchers to help him run his business. Trucking is brutally competitive and it's capital intensive business, and I've been there, I know, and it's not easy. Although I had like 4 trucks, I asked my cousin to work with me because it was, well, to me, it's not dispatching part, it's hard. But dispatching, finding loads is easy. But then managing, meaning the administrative work, it's, to me, it's like, okay, if somebody can manage my administrative side of the business, doing all the paperwork, right? Working with factoring companies, because I don't want to do that, but I want to focus on marketing, getting shippers on board, buying more trucks, expansion. That's what I think as a business owner. I don't want to just sit in. I can give, let's say, 20%, 30% of my revenue to this guy to run my business so I can focus on marketing. Well, at least this is my personal opinion, right? So it makes sense for me to just like, okay, not make money, let's say for a year or 2 years, like get, maybe a salary, but then I don't want to get involved in dispatching. So I want to just ask somebody or hire somebody, hey, I want to give 5,000, 10,000 per month, just dispatch these 4 trucks. I trust you. Go ahead. And I will teach everything ins and outs of the load board. Now, remember I said 2 ways. Think about if you're going into the business and you're just thinking like load boards. That's it. Independent freight dispatchers, load board, gone. No. Consider this option as well, finding shippers and getting them on board, right? And then I really want to touch a little bit about this load board. If you are independent freight dispatcher, maybe you're just starting out, maybe you just have, let's say you're up and running business, but you don't have more carriers. Let's say maybe you have 1 carrier, maybe you don't have a carrier. You have your LLC, but you don't have a carrier yet. But listen, this video is for you. Now, if you're an independent freight dispatcher looking just a load board, I want you to think a little bit differently. At least for today. Why? Think about the load board. When I say I had an email. One guy said, "Well, on your YouTube videos, you say no ins and outs. What do you mean by that ins and outs? Why should I do?" And I said, "Well, you need to dissect because it's a system. It's a tool. Dissect and see how it works." And I gave him an example. He liked it. I want to give it to you. Think about anatomy and physiology. Think about like we have a body, we have a head, and we have arms and legs, and obviously that's the anatomy. That's what we have, right? So I'm not talking about when we have the internal organs, but think about now. Focus on the physiology. That means we have a head. Inside our head, we have brain, and how brain works. Well, brain loves energy. Brain loves sugar. Why? Because 80% of the energy from the body consumes brain. Brain needs energy, and brain consists of this and this. It has neurons. Well, I'm not a doctor, but I'm saying to make this fun. And to think about, same thing with the load board. When you log into load board and you're looking at, you want to know what's the head, what are the arms and legs. I know it sounds weird, but then think about it that way, because now you need to know the physiology of it. When you log in, you have a lot of internal organs that we call the software. Inside the software, we have tools. Let me show you what I mean by that. I think it will be clear if I just show you this. Let me go here. Okay, so now you're looking at a load board. Let me just do this so you can see it. Okay, let me do this. Okay, there you go. Now, what do you have? You have a tool. This is a DAT1 load board, formerly called DAT Power Load Board, for those of you who are seasoned professional pro dispatchers. Julia Dispatch has a question. How can I get truck stop load board? We'll talk about that. Well, I think the easiest way is just contact them and then get the load board, I think. But that's basically it, I think. So now think about this is a load board. Inside the load boards, we have tools. Now you need to understand, think about these are the internal organs for this, the load board that we have. And think about now when you look at, let's say if we can go to search loads, when we look at it, think about this. Now I'm looking at the load board. So what we have search, we have deadhead, we have destination. Well, that's a pretty obvious, but think about as a physiology, you studying it, you're looking at what are the legs, what are the arms. Well, think about it's a private network. What is it? My load, searching load, private loads. What's the private loads like? What about posting trucks? Why am I posting trucks? See what I'm saying? And then when you go into the brain, what you will find is that this load board is all about like well, obviously it has the internal organs like market condition, tri-hull routes, then say let's say lane builder or whatever. Think about now you want to understand like how it works. So think about what I mean by that. Well, think about the search function. It searches. Now it means it consists of like if you put something and it will get something. That means this load board, it depends on the input that you will give it to, right? And then based on the input, it will give you the output. That's that's a little bit advanced thinking. That's how the pro dispatchers, think. Now, even more like if you can go even deeper, you can think, okay, what if I search one city in a state, and what about just going, let's say, let me pull myself, there you go. So what if I just have from Atlanta to Houston? I'll do the input and I'll see what I have. Then what if I do from Atlanta to Texas, just one state, see what will happen. And obviously, what if I'll just go from Atlanta to multiple states. What if I do one state to multiple? What if I do multiple states to one city? What if I can do regions to one city? What if I can do regions to one state? See, like now the opportunity is endless. Like you were thinking about like how this works. So at least what I want you to think, like this is how you want to think when it comes to becoming a pro dispatcher, so you can help your carriers. And another thing is knowing the internal organs, like what's the heart for this load board, what's the liver for this, like think about. So one of the internal organs that we have for this load board is a tri-hull. How this tri-hull principle works, think about that. So what's the market condition? So if I click market condition, why this huge company, which is DAT Solutions, put up this, let me just go there and share with you. Let me pull that up. Why they created this market conditions. Why market conditions so important. Let me go there and I'll show you what I mean by that when I say market conditions. So this is a market condition. So if you're an independent freight dispatcher, you're looking at this and you just basically, before going, let me give you a specific example. If I am a independent freight dispatcher helping carrier, I got the load from Atlanta, delivered in Houston. Now, this guy says, well, I can go anywhere you want, but then I really want a good deal. Now, what do you do before searching on a load board? What you can do, this is a quick trick for you. You look at the outbound, meaning you put the location and then change. I'm not going to go into details, but then what you can do is just basically looking at the state that you're going into, more specifically the city that you're going to. Look at, for example, if you're thinking you want to go to from West Coast to East Coast, and you're thinking, I think I can have better deals to Charlotte, North Carolina. But you don't know. You're just searching and you just put the searches from Los Angeles, California, or Houston, Texas to Charlotte, North Carolina. But before you do that, you wanted to know if you find a load goes to Charlotte, North Carolina, the broker pays you good money from Houston, Texas to Charlotte, North Carolina. You want to book that load. But before you do that, look at what about the outbound? Like if you go there, can you find the load going out of that city? See that, like if you see like this way, like it's now you're becoming a pro dispatcher. So let's go. Let me do this for you guys. Now, as I promised, before I move into showing you how you can get shippers, if you're a carrier, this video is for you. If you're an independent freight dispatcher, this is for you. So this, now we're transitioning into like how you can find those shippers. We're not talking about how to get them on board. but I will show you the easiest way. I'll start with, I think, from the hardest to easiest. Let's do that from hardest to easiest. But before I go there, let me show you. Remember, I said I have a special invitation, guys. We have. Let me go here. We have a group that we have for you. So as you can see right now, we're doing live on YouTube live stream. So this is the Dispatch Trucks Academy. This is the group that there is a platform called School. We host our courses, and we have amazing group that we have. Join. It's free to join, and one of the reasons why I say that, because I have courses over here. I have Q&A sessions over here. So, and then when we have calendar, we had a call yesterday, office hours, from 12 to 1. I'm there to taking questions. Like literally, a lot of people watching videos, they want to work, one-on-one, or they want to have consultation. You don't need to, pay for that. What you can do is join this platform that we have, Truck Dispatcher Academy. Just like let me pull that link for you guys right now so you can see. Let's see. This is the link. Just go there, and you have one of my courses, the Up-Level Dispatching. It's an amazing course. It's a 5-week course, and there you go. You can have this course for free. That's the special invitation for you. But I will come back to this one. Before I come back, I'll be showing you from the hardest to easiest way to find shippers. So why don't we do that? So let me go and show you one. Let me go to. So by the way, we also have the paid membership. This is for my paid students that listen how you can do the same as far as how to get what is it? How you can get the shippers. Let's go to the program that I have. There you go. So one of the bonuses I have in the paid membership that I have, and well, if you wanted to join the paid, that's the link for paid membership. So one of them is school.com/dispatch trucks. The free version of that is Dispatch Trucks Academy. Same link, meaning school.com is the same link. Go to school.com/dispatch trucks. For the paid membership, if you wanted to access, just like go there directly and then start implementing. But Dispatch Trucks Academy, this is where you want to start. If you want to do that, that's free. And then here is the link for that. Now, what I have for our students is direct shippers list. So when you download this, I'll just give you, let me pull this. Can you guys see this? Let me do this. Okay, I think you guys can see it. So once it's downloaded, I will show you. So think about, so it's unformatted, but think about, we have a lot of the direct shippers for the carriers. So why? Because independent freight dispatchers wanted to get carriers on board, and they want to share something in value, meaning the shippers list or the brokers list. We also have the brokers list, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Okay, the best paying brokers list. Yes, we do have a best paying brokers list as well. Now, that's one way. And how to get let me pull this. How to get the leads. What you can do is, there is a lead generation. There are people out there, what they call themselves data mining, meaning you can hire a person saying, hey, I want shippers in Georgia, in Texas, in whatever, in California, in North Carolina, whatever, in Kentucky, whatever. You just say, hey, I want local shippers. I want in the specific market. This is very important. If I'm in the flatbed market, I'm looking for something that, hey, who's distributing, let's say, lumber or plywood or something like that, or construction materials. And then you ask them, or you can do using the Google, and then you can do that. But if you, I don't know how to generate leads, then you can hire somebody, they can do it, and then you can get the list of shippers that way and start contacting. Let me pull this and then I will show it to you what I mean when I say contacting them, because those people, and I hired, people, they will list website, they will list the name of the company, they will list the company, like C-level, people, like think about regional manager, we have CEO, outside sales, we have a president, and then you have their emails. at the same time you have, well, their numbers, the address, and obviously they're located in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is a one piece, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, it's a one piece. See that? So now that's one way of doing it. And I said it's the toughest way because you need to have skills like data mining, like how to find those people. A lot of people you can find, they do this, you can find them on Upwork. So if you can go upwork.com, and then you can find those people. Let me pull this so I can see. If you guys have questions, please let me know your questions. Now, that's the hardest way of doing it. Those people have tools how to get, literally, we get these leads within a week, like hundreds of leads. And then obviously we have the process how we can get those shippers on board. Now, that's the one way. I think this is the toughest way or the hardest way of doing it. Another thing is, maybe you guys heard about this, the shippercrm.com. The shippercrm.com, they have a data. That means they did this for you already. Well, they have, let's say, a team of people who does this, and they have thousands of shippers on board. What you can do is, I like the way they built this, software. As you can see, when you have access to this, I'm not affiliated. I'm just sharing the value with you guys. So view 9, like contract suggestions, and what is it? Identify contract, let's say, and then you can find those LinkedIn profiles, the phone numbers and email, and then obviously search. When you search, and then a lot of data will pop up, and you will see their email address, their phone number, and their names, the company name, etc. See this? So you can use this, and then this is obviously much easier than previous one. But if you go more in detail, it's easy. The last one I have is actually Load Board. Like how? Well, Load Board has tools. So if you guys have the subscription, and by the way, if you're a carrier, if you're an independent freight dispatcher looking for Load Board subscription, what you can do is contact DAT, and you can mention my name. They will give you discounts on the Load Boards, and obviously they will be helping you getting the subscription. So now, when you inside the Load Board, what you can do, you can go to tools, and you can have the DAT directory. For those people who are following me, they maybe they know this tactic, but it's very powerful. So you go here. Let me search. Go here, and let me show you. Let me show you from the beginning. There you go. So when you logged in, this is what you see. Okay. So now these are the tools, as you can see. Now we click on tools, go to DAT directory. Let me share with you. There you go. Now what you have here, as you can see, carriers, brokers, broker carrier, and shippers. So if you're looking for carriers, you can get here. If you're looking for brokers, specific brokers, box truck brokers, you get all of them here. Now, click on shippers. I'll just real quick show you. Toggle this, click on this advanced search. Come over here, put all the states. By default, I think it's all states. Yes. So come back, and you can select ratings, whatever, and then you just click search. But you can search by city, right? If you are in Georgia, you can see it's Georgia. Click then, let's say, city Atlanta or Macon or Cumming, Georgia, whatever. Then what you can do, click search. And let me see, toggle this, go to, let's say, now, here are the shippers that maybe those are the shippers that you're looking for. So this is how you can get shippers. But let me say, I think it's about 111 searches, but then, hey, it's there for you to easy to use. These are the shippers. One of them is, let me say, ProSource, Produce. What we have, School Express, Affordable Truck and Equipment, Resource Management. I think Resource Management, I think it will be, this one is if I'm not mistaken, I think these people are, if you can click more to see more details, you can also go to the website. Most of them, they list their websites. Yeah, so source is this. If you can click, let me go here and see what we have. So let's go here. There you go. Now, pallets. See this? Now, these people make pallets. Think about now, if they make something, they need to deliver this. Well, they have customers. Now, palletized pallets, recycling lumber. Think about, guys. See this? Now, how many trucks you saw on the road that delivering these pallets? Think about. Now, if you're a carrier and if you're an independent freight dispatcher watching this, and if you're not doing this, and obviously freight brokers, they do this, and they get the customer. Okay, so these are the ways to get shippers on board. I showed you the one way of doing it, which is the hardest way, is just generating leads, and you can hire somebody. And the second one I showed you is the using this tool. Let me come back. This one. I think this one is amazing. The shippercrm.com. So this is how we can get hundreds of thousands of shippers, and you can start, contacting them. That's the one way. And then another way, obviously, if you have a DAT Load Board subscription, you can access to DAT directory, and you can get carriers, brokers, and obviously shippers. Shippers, guys, by the way, shippers do post. I had a email saying, Kamal, do shipper post on these load boards? Yes, they do. They do post on these load boards.